coached. But their defense came out to play offensively. It just caused problems for you. We were very fortunate in the first half to come out of there even with the lead. It was a huge turn of events when they were driving late. And there was that penalty, chop block penalty that cost them really a chance to score a touchdown and run out the rest of the clock. For that matter, they got pushed back, had to kick a field goal. We were at least smart enough to use our timeouts and leave us a little bit on the clock. And offense just did a beautiful job of getting down the field in less than a minute with no timeouts to use, and put 7 on the board. I thought that was by far the biggest turning point of the game. Now we're up by 10. We might have been down by 4, really. So just a good job the way we finished that half. Then we come out and get a couple 3-and-outs, score some touchdowns. I mean, it got to the point where it was very difficult, that style of offense, to come back and do things that you're just not used to doing. So that's, we're hoping to get the point differential where they don't get uncomfortable sticking with their plan, and it worked out well for us.
Coach, you talk about the cut blocks. So that's something you would maybe talk to the referee before the game to watch out for, make sure they weren't
doing a cut block and a chop block.
That's what I'm saying, to make the difference.
Cut block's legal
unless
you go from outside in. Chop block, of course, is when you get a high-low situation. I think they call it chop on the that second quarter, late in the second quarter call. But yeah, we got as much film up as we could on some questionable calls and or questionable plays. You know, is this a cut? Is this an illegal cut? Is this a chop block type thing? So we send it to our officials, and then Steve Shaw comes back and says, you know, this would have been a penalty. This would not be a penalty. So we just want to make sure we understood it well, and we want to make sure our officials understood it well and got to see film, as much film as possible, to be able to make that determination.
Mark, normally when you play a triple option team, it's 1 week, survive and move on. This time around, you feel better entering Georgia Tech having done this, or do you kind of dread it another way?
Well, it's not fun to prepare for, I can tell you that. So I don't know if everybody's looking forward to doing it again, but bottom line is we've got to go hook it up and practice again and do our best. But you know, Georgia Southern and Georgia Tech don't really run it quite the same either. It's not like it's a carbon copy by any stretch of the imagination. They both do some different things. But there are some similarities in the types of blocks on the perimeter that you got to really learn to deal with. And hopefully we learn some lessons there. But, I mean, if you're playing Georgia Southern and Georgia Tech in the same season, I think it's in your best interest to do it back-to-back. Because you just got to change all your gears, and to have to do it twice, it'd be tougher to do. But, you know, is it going to give us a great advantage this week? I wouldn't say that, but it's just, well, you don't have to reorganize, you know, your practices and everything. We'll be able to pretty much practice the same as last week, except that we probably won't put pads on Monday because we've got enough of a start of it on what it's going to look like.
It appeared that maybe the game plan was to run the ball a little bit more than you did, but to their credit, it seemed like they stuffed it pretty good.
Yeah.
And you guys went to throwing the ball. Murray scores that last one in the first half, and then 3 straight in a row in the second. Can you talk about the passing game kind of kicking in and going to it?
We threw it well. They did. They got a couple of sacks on us. You know, when they pressured us, we early on didn't do a good job of getting a hat on the most dangerous guys. We just busted a couple of those blitz protections, and Murray just got swallowed up a couple times. But second half, Mike did a really good job of trying to get into our cadence to see what their intentions were, and then get the right play call, get the right protections on there. And then when we did just drop back and throw it, and they did pressure, we did a better job of picking up the blitz, which allowed us to throw and catch pretty good. We've been throwing and catching the ball pretty good all year long. And, today wasn't really different. But it was, but you're right, they were stout against the run. I mean, you shouldn't complain about 4.5 yards a carry. That's not a bad day, really, but we're getting spoiled around here lately with some of the bigger yards per carry, with our backs. But we earned every yard we got rushing the football because they were stout. They're tough nuts.
Coach, Georgia is known for their running game, but Gurley makes history today. Can you talk about the impact he's had on this team, how much the offensive line has to do with that?
Well, having Todd Gurley and I like to throw Keith Marshall in there too, because Keith's really had a fine, true freshman season, and they're two definitely important impact players on the team this year. I mean, our run game was in question with the line. Us losing 3 guys that got drafted last year, and all of a sudden we got to fill some holes on the line. We don't know for sure who our backs are going to be, and these guys come in, and the line, as you said, blocked extremely well throughout most of the season, and we're rushing the ball well. And, I'd like to mention Ken Malcolm too, because Kenny does a good job. Our fullbacks are not good people now. We got tight ends and linemen, obviously. So I'm just glad we got those kids. They're really great kids, and they're just big talents. And I guess Gurley, the historical thing, I guess he's the second true freshman to get 1,000 yards rushing in this season. Is probably what you're alluding to. That's good for Georgia too.
Mark, I know you wanted to focus on the games and not the DCS here, but you still pressed the attack in the fourth quarter right up to that last scoring drive. Are you at all thinking of?
No, what happened at the end there is, we did substitute. So it wasn't like we were keeping our starters in the game. So we put our substitutes in there. And then when we got into the red zone area, they started blitzing. They started playing cover 0. And I think if a defensive team at that point of the game keeps blitzing, I don't think there's anything wrong with just max protecting and trying to throw a one-on-one. It's what you would do normally, and you're doing with your second teamer. So, I would say this, if they were just playing base defense, we'd probably just kept running the ball. But there's not much chance to run the ball when you got unblocked safeties not only on the line of scrimmage, but blitzing right into the backfield. So we felt like we should just, we basically did what we call an ice play, where we'll try to simulate the cadence and see what they're in. And if they were going to blitz, we said, let's go ahead and throw. If they weren't going to blitz, we were going to run the ball.
Mark, earlier this year you said you were going to be a LSU and a Florida fan. Will you be a Baylor and Stanford fan?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We'll see what happens, but just really glad we got the victory. And I'm very impressed with Georgia Southern. I mean, Coach Munkin's doing a super job. I would imagine, though, we were going to be in the playoffs. I think they're not certain of it yet. I don't know. Sounds like there's going to be a good chance they'll be in the playoffs, and I bet you they go deep in there because they're really good at what they do.
Yeah, let's talk about Chris Conley and how his role is.
Yeah, Chris is, he wasn't getting a lot of balls thrown to him early in the year. He was playing scrimmage downs, and he's been playing on some special teams for us as well. He's been covering some kicks and doing other things for us on the special teams. But he got more opportunities today. He caught the ball well. I thought he did a great job of, just aggressively, after he caught the ball in that swing pass, he just was flying. Sometimes guys will hesitate just a fraction. If he'd have hesitated one little bit, I don't think he'd have scored. And then Wooten did a good job of knocking a cornerback down to give him that edge, and that was nice. But Chris was kind of banged up. There was something going on with his hip and his hamstring, and it was kind of tightening up on him for kind of no good reason, really. And I didn't think he was going to even play in the second half because he came in limping. But he just sucked it up and kept playing, and I'm glad he was really productive for us.
Coach, another game, another big offensive record tonight, 55 touchdowns. At what point can you say that this is one of the best offenses that Georgia's
Well, we've been very productive, obviously, and we're scoring a lot of touchdowns. We're not kicking as many field goals as we have in some years. And that's probably been the biggest difference. If you get a bunch of 4s instead of, 7s, you get 4 more points every time you score a touchdown than a field goal, obviously. And so when you score touchdowns, your point totals go up, and I just think I think Mike and the entire staff has done a really good job, and the guys are executing. We got a really good chemistry with that group, and we only have 2 seniors, and that's Marlon and TK on the offensive side of the ball. So you would hope, the future's bright offensively there as well.
This is about the 3rd or 4th game where y'all have driven down and scored right before halftime. Some of those have been really key points. I mean, can you put your finger on why y'all been so effective?
Well, first of all, I've made the decision as a head coach to be aggressive and say, let's go get it. Because, I've got faith in our scheme and our quarterback, obviously, and it kind of starts there. If you're worried about your quarterback making a mistake, you don't want to do that. So the goal has been to try to get in position to try to score right before that. Even when Georgia Tech's driving, I told Coach Grantham, if it becomes 3rd and long, I'm calling timeout. I didn't want him to freak out and think I was trying to help them score or anything, but I felt like we got them in 3rd and long. We could call a timeout and try to save some clock for us to get the ball back. And so it gets to be 3rd and long, and then they get, I forgot exactly what happened, it became 4th and very short. And if it's 4th down and a sure field goal, I was about to call timeout again, but it's because it was so short, I didn't want to help them with the clock, so we did not call timeout. They called timeout, so save some clock, and then when they had the penalty, moved the ball back. They're about to kick the field goal, and I called timeout again because I wanted to make sure they didn't just let 40 seconds run off the clock. So I think we did a good job of saving a little bit of time. We didn't have any timeouts left, but to drive the field the distance that we went and put points on the board without any timeouts, that was really a special job by those guys. So we just got faith in them, and hopefully we'll keep doing that if we get the opportunity.
Coach, can you talk about next week? Georgia Tech probably won't be playing for much. With some help, they could be playing for the ACC championship, but a rivalry team.
Well, they'll be playing for a lot. Okay, this game is a lot, period. We know it's at stake, they know it's at stake, it's a huge game. And regardless of anybody's record, we know how important the game was. A couple of years ago, we're 5 and 6 or whatever it was at the time. Of course, we want to be bowl eligible, but it was more than that. It was just, regardless of whether you're playing for a conference championship or a title or anything like that, it's just a huge game. And both teams really understand it, so we care very much about this game.
What do you think about Christian Robinson stepping in with 9 tackles and 2 for loss?
Well, you know what, Christian has done a very good job. Of course, he had a really big hit last week on a little flare route, and he's always been a guy that knows what to do and can help his teammates get lined up properly and make calls, and he'll see tendency, he'll see something that he knows there's a certain tendency, and he'll relay that information to the rest of his defenders, and he's just, he's a good football player, and I'm just glad he played well and got everybody lined up and made some good plays.
How'd you come out on the injury front? It looked like Merritt Hall ended up coming back in the game. I thought he was gone for sure.
Yeah, I thought so too. Early in the game, he looked like he re-sprained it, or at least lit it up again, is what it looked like. And I don't know if they retaped it or just the pain just kind of cooled off and went back out and played again. But he was hobbling a little bit. I didn't really like how he looked, other than he was tough enough to go back in there.
This is I guess the 8th time you've won 10 games in the season, which is
That's good.
yeah.
It's nice to have 10 wins and have three more games to go too. But I mean, the reality is, there's been seasons where there's only 11 game seasons and probably some 10 game seasons when you go back in history. We're playing 12 games now, so we do have a better chance of getting 10 wins. But I think 10 wins is a significant number of wins in a season, and I'm proud of everybody for doing that.
Coach, the tight ends got established pretty early with Arthur on that first drive and Jay Rome before the half. That's got to be encouraging.
That was big, and that 3rd down, it's 3rd and long, and we go to a check down, and he's really pretty well covered, but the other guy was getting double covered. And Artie did a good job of bouncing away from the backer, and Murray put it, just away from the defender, and Artie caught the ball out away from his body, where a lot of times You know, guys like it to come into their body, and I don't know if he had caught it, but he snatched it away